Good afternoon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is Wednesday, Hump Day. Don't you ever crump day. Wednesday, the 13th of August, 2025. Oh, man, sifting through the subterfuge and the propaganda and the gaslighting. Oh, my gosh. Guess what, mainstream media? You won't be trusted anymore. Yeah, the cracks are getting bigger. Yeah, the dam seems to be breaking. I don't even know where to start today. Anyway, well, thank you for joining me on today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And as always, we broadcast live from 2 p.m. Eastern Time, at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's 11 o'clock Pacific, and you can do the math for the time zones in between. And if you're listening live, yeah, we got a phone number. You can call in. If you've got something you'd like to bring to the table, you're welcome to do so. 215-867-8255. 215-867-8255. And as always, the WTF reports are brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. Yeah, the Wave Watch, it does some amazing things. It's Rife technology you wear on your wrist. It's a Rife machine. Yeah, if you don't know what a Rife machine is, do a little research, because this thing is pretty incredible. There's over 1,000 frequencies stored on this little device, this little wristwatch, and they target all different types of cells and can help cells to thrive and proliferate. And they also can go after viruses and bacteria, and parasites and all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, do some research. And I'm not here to say that it's going to cure or treat anything. This is for your entertainment and educational purposes only. So anyway, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and click on the sponsors page and find out about the Wave Watch. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, where do we even start today? There's so much that's going on. Of course, a lot of the chatter right now, people are really watching what's going on in Washington, D.C., and Trump has been talking about possibly federalizing all the blue cities, all the sanctuary cities, the Democrat-run cities, because they've just fallen into such disrepair, and they're in such big trouble because of the horrendous administration that we had to go through under Biden-Harris. And I just don't know. I don't know how you can defend the indefensible. What's happened here in this country because of opening up the borders and letting all of these unvetted immigrants in. And again, we always hear, well, maybe it's 20 million. I've talked to a Border Patrol agent last fall, and I got to tell you, he said that it's probably 30 or more million. Now, you think about that, what's happening, and where did they go? They all went to, of course, Democrat-run cities, because they're the ones that opened the doors. They're the ones that had the, sanctuary cities, giving them hotel rooms, giving them cash cards, giving them cash, giving them cell phones, all kinds of free stuff, all on the American taxpayer dime. And now it's a big, big, big mess. And, of course, the media is not reporting all of the demonstrations and riots that are going on in Los Angeles right now, which is why they've called in the National Guard. But you see, the thing is that Democrats are saying, oh, these ICE agents are taking all these people. And yeah. What do you think these illegal immigrants that came in here with hostile tendencies? I mean, a lot of these people are from countries that hate this country. And, they're going to do anything that they can and everything that they can to just blend in with the population. They don't want to get caught. They're not going to stand there and go, oh, here I am, deport me. No, they're going to do everything they can to hide. And that's why the ICE agents are out there doing what they have to do. Now, I'll admit some of them are pretty heavy-handed, and I admit that, there are certain situations where maybe that needs to be re-examined. But the bottom line here, the bottom line, is that the Democrats created this problem. They created it. And, now it's going to take years to straighten this out. So meanwhile, they're federalizing the police department in Washington, D.C. And, of course, the police there are going, they're not really comfortable with that because they are corrupt as sin. They botched or didn't even have an investigation into Seth Rich. And, of course, then there was the Pizzagate issue. Comet Pizza and Ping Pong and all that stuff. Yeah, they've been covering all that stuff in. So now Trump sends in a bunch of federal officers, FBI, what is it, 750, I think it was. And they're going to go in there and say, we're going to help you straighten out this police department. And the police officers are shaking in their boots. So is this a situation where he's going to be cleaning up the swamp? And of course now they're talking about bringing the National Guard in. And of course now there's this issue about the Congress being in recess. And we got a bunch of Republican congressmen over there in Israel. And when they come back, they're going to send over like 20 or 25 Democrats. I'm sure something's going on over there in Israel. And that reminds me, there's this old joke here. It's a little bit off color, but I'm sure you've heard this story about the man goes up to a beautiful woman. He says, will you have sex with me for $1 million? And she says, what? He says, yeah, I'm serious. Here it is. Look, will you do that for $1 million? And she thinks about it. She said, I could sure use that money. Okay. And he says, all right, fine. Would you have sex with me for $1? And then she says, no, wait a minute, wait. What do you think I am anyway? And he says, well, we've already determined what you are. We're just negotiating a price. Okay, now let's apply that towards your elected officials. Okay, would you betray your country for $1 million? Would you betray your country for $1? Okay, let that settle in. How many of our elected officials have been paid off, and by whom? I mean, you think about that. It's pretty a pretty sensitive issue, don't you think? As a matter of fact, I remember way back when, was it 20 odd years ago, when I was doing the Power Hour with Joyce, and we interviewed Cynthia McKinney. At the time, I think she had just lost her seat because she was standing up against, shall we say, monetary influences in Congress. But anyway, she was recently being interviewed, and she was explaining how that whole thing works. When you're going to be running for Congress, you immediately come across somebody who's going to say, hey, would you do such and such for so much money? Anyway, here's Cynthia McKinney.
What happens is at the campaign phase, not after one is sworn into office, at the campaign phase, all of the candidates swear this allegiance in one way or the other to Israel. Now, today in 2024, there is language that must be placed on your website. So by the time everyone is sworn into office, they've already pledged themselves to Israel. That is the problem. No matter who wins, no matter who loses, Israel never loses.
That's right. It's the old story, if you go to a horse race and bet on all the horses, you're going to win. It doesn't make any difference, who's going to win because you got money on all of the horses. So that's sort of what we're up against here, folks. Now, I got to tell you, years ago, when I was a younger man, I've always been a musician, and I always sang and played guitar, and was in a whole bunch of different bands. I played anything from country to jazz to swing to rock. I'm doing whatever I had to do to keep the gigs, coming in and keep the food on the table. And I also, because of God gave me a voice, and I was doing some radio stuff and a DJ at different radio stations, and narrations and commercials and, character voices, stuff like that, But I got smacked upside the head with a 2x4 of reality and started paying attention. Of course, people in my circle said, what's going on with Dave? All of a sudden he's paying attention to politics and economics and, health issues and all that stuff, Dave's going crazy, I think. I say, no, I was going sane. I was coming out of the fog of chasing the brass ring and being on the treadmill that we call life in this country. I was stuck in the matrix. I started to recognize what the matrix was. And that's what sort of inspired me to start becoming a talk show host. And when I did that, I had no idea I was going to tumble down a rabbit hole. I had no idea. And the more that I learned, the more corruption I began to recognize. And the liner notes in my first album say, if you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. And sorry, I got to look at myself in the mirror every day and know that I'm doing the right thing. So that's why I started screaming from the rooftops and blowing the trumpet. And like I said, I became a talk show host and started meeting all kinds of really interesting people and learning a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I got more of an education in those years than any college degree could grant me. Keep in mind, there are plenty of people out there with college degrees that are absolute idiots. And there's also plenty of people out there pumping gas or flipping burgers that are geniuses. So, and that's why I say, you don't have to be a registered, certified, and licensed pyrotechnic expert to have a valid claim of fire. If anybody has, the cognitive ability to open their eyes and look what's going on in this country and around the world, everybody can see that there are some serious problems and the corruption is everywhere. But I got to tell you, what really made my head explode is during the period of the Oklahoma City bombing issue, and I was interviewing all kinds of people that were plugged into what happened that day, and one of them was Ted Gunderson. And Ted and I, over the years, struck up a good friendship because we were running into each other all the time at speaking engagements, and many times we were booked at the same hotel. So we started trading notes and stuff, and that's when I really found out about what was going on with the satanic rituals and the sex trafficking and all the, horrible, horrible stuff that was going on. We're talking 30 years ago now. What's happened in the past 3 decades that has just gone right through the roof. And a lot of people just, it's a subject that a lot of people don't want to discuss. They don't want to talk about it. They want to ignore it. And the more you ignore it, the more it proliferates. So again, if you want to defeat the monster, you've got to have the courage to stare it down in the eyes. And I don't mean to get off on a soapbox on that, but I'm seeing so much corruption now is being threatened with exposure, and Lord knows it has to be exposed. A lot of people are not going to be happy, in this Epstein list and Ghislaine Maxwell and all this other stuff. While that's going on, there's a bunch of other stuff going on behind the scenes. And I can't help but think, that people are saying, this whole thing about this takeover in Washington, D.C., federalizing, these other cities. I don't know that there's any other way to clean up the swamp. I really don't. Now, years ago, somebody said, we're going to federalize and, we're going to come under martial law. I would have said, no way. I'll be out in the streets fighting that. But after seeing and learning what I've seen and what I have learned, I'm starting to think that, as long as the military is going to adhere to their oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and do this on behalf of the American people, well, then I don't see any other way around it. We're going to have to do this because everything is so very corrupt. And I don't mean to be off on a soapbox here about it, but I'm just watching so much going on. There's this issue about redistricting down in Texas. And, Jasmine Crockett may lose her seat. And she and many others. So there's that going on. And I think that was a brilliant move by Trump to say, okay, we're going to have an emergency, do a census and count only U.S. citizens. And like the migrant population, a lot of them are getting deported, and a lot of them are sort of like, bailing out of these blue cities because they don't want to get caught. So all of a sudden, the population drops, which means that you have to redistrict. If you lose the population, then that sort of negates even having to have the congressional representative for that district. Anyway, couple of other things I wanted to get to. And if you got something that you want to throw on the table, you're welcome to do so. You can call in at 215-867-8255. In Colorado, I'll tell you what it is. What is it about the liberals, about the Democrats? It seems that almost every major issue that's on their tongue, that's coming out of their mouth, has something to do with sex. It's either the abortion thing or gay rights or this or that, but it all seems to be sexual. Think about it. Anyway, in Colorado, there's a woman posted what's going on in Colorado and something that was just passed. Listen to this.
27 Democrats in Colorado voted against child indecent exposure being a felony. Let me say that again. 27 Democrats in office in Colorado voted against not for the protection of children for indecent exposure being a felony. The reason? To protect drag shows being read for story time. That's who Democrats are supporting. I don't want to hear any excuses for that. 27.
She's obviously shocked.
27.
I get it.
I do not care for a single person's explanation as to why a child, 4, 5, 6 years old, needs to see a drag show in a library or anywhere in school or anywhere in life that is not educational, that is not beneficial, and it is not protecting children. It's disgusting, and it's giving child pedo vibes. Shame on you, Democrats.
You know, this is what I'm saying. It's the liberal mindset. That's in Colorado. Meanwhile, north of the border in Canada, what's going on up there?
I try to avoid anger-inducing posts in the summer when everyone's trying to enjoy their lives. But sometimes something so egregious comes up that it needs to be flagged. You've got to read Jamie Sarkonic's article today in the National Post. She wrote about how a 30-year-old recent immigrant with permanent resident status was caught trying to buy sex from a 15-year-old girl in Ontario. He showed up at a hotel room with $140 in his pockets, only to find police there instead of the young teenager he was expecting. Most people would say at the very least this should result in jail time and a criminal record, and as a non-citizen, maybe even deportation too. But the judge gave him 3 months of house arrest and what's called a conditional discharge, meaning no criminal record. Why? Because the judge didn't want to jeopardize this predator's chance of getting Canadian citizenship. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of imposing a criminal record that would rightly result in a reduced likelihood of citizenship for this sexual predator, the judge instead used this person's immigration status as a reason to impose a lighter consequence than an ordinary Canadian citizen would face. Commit a crime involving an underage girl and you should be deported, not encouraged to stay. Our broken justice system is colliding with our broken immigration system, once again at the expense of Canadian women and girls.
Isn't that something? And it, like I said, this is not exclusive, to just Colorado or Canada. I mean, this is going on all over the country. And I have to ask the question, why? Why is it that so many people are so infatuated and focused on something that has to do with sex, sexuality, sex. And just, I don't know. Maybe they just never got out of puberty or something. I don't know. I could understand when teens, they reach puberty. That's sort of the one thing that's on their mind. But eventually you get through that and you become a mature adult. But it's like a lot of these people just never matured. Anyway, in the meantime, the country is going down the tubes. Let me see. What do I got here? Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, Laura Logan. I'm going to just go down here. Here's Laura. Laura Logan is talking about how we've got to defeat this deep state. And because it is perverse. It is absolutely mad.
I would say
insane.
that we don't have real accountability and you do not dismantle the deep state, both on the Republican and Democrat side, we will never, ever, ever change anything. And I am tired of seeing Americans working 2-3 jobs, not able to afford a house or a car or take a vacation with their families or have Thanksgiving or have Christmas. And that happens all around us all the time. This is wrong. People are stealing from the American people. And we finally have a president who's willing to fix that and do something about it and change it in a lasting and meaningful way. I think every single one of us has a duty to stand up and speak up.
And this is not a Republican-Democrat thing. The American people, all of us, are being financially raped every single day. And a lot of people are losing hope. As a matter of fact, there was one guy who made the following post. And it's, listen to what this is just a regular guy, and he's just saying, hey, welcome to America. And these are the conditions that we as Americans are being subjected to.
Welcome to America, where we work to live and live to work. Where we spend hundreds of thousands on a home that we barely get to step foot in because the hours we work to pay for it keeps us away from it. where we buy a car just to drive it to a job that barely pays enough to keep the gas tank full, where our healthcare system will bankrupt you faster than the illness can kill you, where getting sick is the business motto and the cure is priced like a luxury. Welcome to America, where the food is fake, the water's tainted, and the air we breathe is up for sale, where the richest 1% own more than the bottom half combined, and they still tell us to work harder, where we chase the American dream only to find out it was designed to stay out of reach, and every time we get close to the finish line, they just inch it a little further back, where school doesn't teach you how to live, just how to obey, comply, and clock in, where education comes with a lifetime of debt and the diploma is nothing more than a receipt for money that you ain't never gonna see again. Welcome to America, where we pay taxes to keep the lights on in government buildings we ain't never even allowed to enter, where your rights are written in pencil and erased when it's inconvenient, where justice depends on your income and the law bends to the highest bidder. Welcome to America, where they tell you if you don't like it, then leave, without realizing we had ties to this land before there was even an America, where your labor is valued, but your life is disposable. Welcome to America, where mental health is a crisis, but therapy is a luxury that most can't even afford, where they sell you fast fashion, fast food, and the fast entertainment to keep you distracted from the slow theft of your soul and your spirit, where the news is scripted, the truth is filtered, and history is rewritten to protect the guilty. Welcome to America, where the people who run this country don't live like the people who keep it running. Welcome to America, where survival is success, where we've been trained to call this living, but in reality, we barely breathing. Welcome to America.
Yeah, welcome to America. And he's right. You know, everything is upside down. You know, we have public servants. You know, those are the people that we elect. Public servants. And yet the public servants are living in mansions. And we, the masters, are living in hovels. Now, how did this happen? How did everything get switched around? Well, because America, unfortunately, we got too fat, dumb, and lazy. You know, after the 50s and 60s and everything seemed to be going okay, you know, we had a good economy, you know, boomers and all that stuff, and we got fat, dumb, and lazy. And now, hey, there's a price to pay for apathy. Anyway, I'm just sort of like all over the map today because there's so much going on, I don't even know how to sort it all out. And, you know, don't fool yourself to think that, you know, it's just the liberal media, you know, the alphabet networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, you know, yeah, they're all basically lying to us. But, you know, the conservatives say, okay, well, I'm going to watch Newsmax, or I'm going to watch One America News, or Real America's Voice, or one of the other, you know, News Nation, one of the other networks. But guess what? You're getting gaslit just as much. So what's true and what isn't? It's hard to sort that out right now. But the bottom line here is that I think everybody listening to this broadcast right now realizes that, yeah, Americans are waking up and realizing that it's not an American dream. It's become a nightmare. Who was it? Steve Voss did a song about that. What was it? 30 years ago. Anyway, a quick break. Here we go. All right, let's go to Chicago. Say hi to Jerry. Jerry, thank you for holding. You're on the air. What do you got?
Hey, this is what I got for you. I started using that GetMoreTank.com back around May in 2 different vehicles. And I'll tell you what, my fuel economy went up in one of them, Toyota RAV4 2019, and went up about 4.6 miles per gallon. I keep track of it.
Wow, good for you.
And 2019 Ford Transit with a 5-cylinder inline diesel engine, I went from 15.8 average to 17.2. And I'm also putting it in my chainsaw. I haven't noticed the difference with the chainsaw. I can't figure fuel economy on that. But, hey, that's all I wanted to say to you. Have a good show.
Hey, Jerry, thank you so much for the endorsement. It's a good product. It really is. And not only that, I'm sure that everything's running better as well. I noticed that in my my Toyota Highlander. When I hit the gas, I almost feel G-forces, you know. So, hey, thank you much for that endorsement, Jerry. I appreciate that. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now, the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and you can see that window there that says Get More Tank. Now, when you click on the window, it'll take you to the website and you can read all the specifications on how this works, why this works, etc., etc. It's all there. All the data is very clear. This stuff works. It'll make your engine run better, and over a period of time, you will see mileage increase, which means you're going to have more money in your pocket. So this is a win-win situation, folks. If you're not using it, I don't know why you're not, because stuff really works, and you're going to save money, and you're helping the environment too, because your engine runs a lot cleaner. So visit the website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and Get More Tank. You'll be glad that you did. All right, I'm going to take a little musical pause for the cause, because a lot of people are, sitting on the edge of their seats, wondering what is going to happen if Trump's going to militarize Washington D.C. Maybe there's an ulterior motive there. Maybe he's going to really clean up the swamp. I don't know. But when I see those folks in military, in military uniforms, I salute them. I've been a big supporter of veterans for many, many years. So when you guys are deployed, keep in mind that we Americans are on your side. If you're looking for an enemy, it's not me. No.
Well, the founders of our country tried to teach us to avoid a tyranny. So they wrote the Constitution and the Bill of Rights for their posterity. And they told us we should never sacrifice our liberty, even when the world around us threatens our security. Today our leaders want our freedoms, but they won't get a concession out of me. There are 20,000 laws that Congress passes every year to keep us free. And each one is a link that forms a chain around your life that you can't see. When you support the Republicans, Republicrats too, they represent the corporations, cause that's what they're paid to do. And they hope they'll get support from you, but they will never get support from me. A fight for the people, it's supposed to be. Don't ignore your own responsibility. If you turn your head and look away, there's a price you and yours will have to pay. He's a slave. And during the elections, they will tell you you control your destiny. But computers do the counting, and they don't allow the public scrutiny. And the scores of correspondents say it's balanced and it's fair, till the predetermined candidate, the winner, they declare. And they're hoping that the public is completely unaware, but not me, not me. I see they can't fool me, not me. Can you say? it if you don't take time to learn your history. And Thomas Jefferson said there has never been a people ignorant and free. So if you're serving in a uniform, I hope you recognize that the ones that give the orders are the ones that tell the lies. If they tell you we're the enemy, you're in for a surprise. It isn't me, not me, not me. I'm a Constitution devotee. Not me, not me. I guarantee you that I'm not the enemy. Not me, not me. The ones you're looking for are on the TV.
Yeah, the ones you're looking for are on the TV. You got that right. All right, let's see. Coming up on 23 minutes before the top of the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And, I just wanted to throw that out there because, the American people are waking up across the board. And they're seeing the subterfuge, the gaslighting, the massaging, the manipulation, the propaganda. And they're not buying it anymore. More and more people are now starting to realize that Israel is not, they're not our best ally. They're not. And as much as the talking heads and all of your elected officials, of course, we all know Shikshing, where they are Shikshing, getting their influence Shikshing from, they're not representing the constituency anymore. Like I said earlier in this broadcast, what price for treason? And in a lot of cases, a lot of these elected officials, they'll turn their backs on the American people for a few shekels. And meanwhile, people who are out there demonstrating against the famine, against the starvation, against the brutality that's going on. And I don't care, you're standing up for the Muslims, that. Look at, they're human beings. Nobody should be treated like that. I mean, they're being starved to death. And when they open up the supposed aid areas, they get them, they herd them in like cattle and then open fire on them. This is not right. And so a lot of folks are saying, well, why do you care? It's not happening to you, Well, there was a young woman that posted, a cute little girl, fair-haired, blonde-haired, blue eyes. Obviously she's not from the Middle East. So people saying, hey, why do you care? Well, she gives a pretty good explanation. Give a listen to this.
Anytime someone who looks like me posts about Palestine, you have someone in the comments being like, what does this white girl know about anything in the Middle East? What does she care about Palestine? It doesn't affect her, blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, baby, something doesn't have to personally affect you in order for you to care about it. And second of all, people like me who look like me have cared about occupation and colonization for a long time because people who look like me, come from Ireland. And my family's only here because the Brits couldn't genocide me fast enough, buddy. So, I care.
Yeah, so the Irish, they know what it's all about. And you know what? The Irish now are wanting to boycott all Israeli goods. Now, guess what? If they do this, and this starts a domino effect across Europe, Israel's not going to be too happy about that. So what is the United States doing? They want us to put sanctions against against Ireland, to stand up for Israel. Again, what country do our elected officials work for? Need to think about that. And this is more and more people are realizing that Israel is not our greatest ally. It could very well be our greatest enemy. And the more you look into it, the more you realize that very well could be the case. As a matter of fact, there's a rabbi, his name is Yaakov Shapiro, and he made the following statement. Listen to this.
Jew, ask a Jew, do you believe America's your country or do you believe Israel's your country? The Israeli court said a person can only have one nationality. Is your nationality Jewish or is your nationality American? And if your nationality you say is Jewish, then what's your country? Zionism is intellectually absurd. It's logically incoherent. And it needs to be exposed for that. We need to separate Israel from the Jewish people. The Jewish people are a group of people. They're all over the world. They share a common religion. The non-religious ones, you know what? Ask them what their Jewishness is. whatever that, Bagels and Lox, Woody Allen, doesn't make sense to me, but whatever it is, it is. Israel is a foreign country. It's the country of the Israelis. It has nothing to do with world Jewry. This identity thing, that has to go. It's the Zionist ideology that needs to be fought.
That's right. It's the Zionist ideology. And, you know, the powers that be are doing everything they can now to equate Zionism with anti-Semitism. Two different things. And, you know, unfortunately, there are people that are going to buy into that. You know, so you can't speak out against Israel or you can't speak out against Zionism because that means you hate Jews? No, that's not how it works. But that's what they want you to think anyway. But let me see. I've got a couple other clips here. Oh, yeah. No peace, Bibi. Bibi Netanyahu doesn't want peace. I mean, you stop and think about it. They keep on saying that we're the victims. You know, Israel has the right to defend itself. How many countries has Israel bombed in the past several decades? No wonder the rest of the Middle East is so PO'd at Israel and Netanyahu. Because they just keep on, they keep on bombing other countries because they got a big brother on the other side of the world in the name of the United States. And all the elected officials have been paid off and are in Bibi's back pocket. And as we speak, that's exactly what's going on. So, Israel feels that they could go in and they can bomb anybody that they want, and nobody's going to go back at them because they're going to have to face the big boy United States. So, anyway, that's just my feeling on the subject. Anyway, here's another clip here. Here we go.
Do you know that 400 Palestinian children are taken hostages by Israel in the West Bank? Do you know that 3,650 Palestinian prisoners are kept in Israeli jail without trial, without charges, and they are kept under the so-called administrative detention? They are also captives. If Hamas now releases all the prisoners, all Netanyahu will do is to continue the war, because he says, even if I get the Israeli captives, I will continue the war to destroy Hamas. He will continue till he evicts everybody to the south of Gaza, to the concentration camp, and then he will conduct ethnic cleansing. About Hamas governance, we got from them, I personally negotiated with 14 other Palestinian parties in Beijing more than a year ago. Hamas told us they are ready not to be in the government. They are ready not to be the government of Gaza. They repeat that all the time. And the best substitute to Hamas governance is a national consensus independent government. All Palestinian parties signed that. What did Netanyahu say? No to Hamasistan, no to Fatahistan, no to PLO, no to any Palestinian rule. Because the reality of what we see today is another colonial war to annex land, to take over the rest of the Palestinian land, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank. And that is a recipe for eternal conflict, for something that everybody, including Palestinians and Israelis, will suffer from.
And I would challenge anybody out there to do a search. Type in the words Greater Israel and then look at images. And you'll see Netanyahu holding up a map of the Middle East, and what the plans are to take over a large segment of that region. That's what their plan for Greater Israel is. And meanwhile, journalists have been murdered. 200 and something journalists have been killed during the past 22 months. And that's more than the Vietnam War and the Gulf War combined. Think about it. They don't want the journalists in there. They don't want anybody to be reporting back to the rest of the world what Israel is doing to these people. Now, are these God's chosen people? Seriously? And all you Christian Zionists that are out there, you actually believe that? I'm gobsmacked to think that so many people have swallowed so much of this Kool-Aid that they can't groke their way out of it. Can't figure it out. I don't get it. But anyway, the horrendous actions being taken by Israel are now being noticed by the rest of the world, and that's why they call it the noticing. Yeah, the noticing. And let me see, I've got one more thing. Oh, yeah, in a seemingly unrelated topic, you know, you've heard yours truly talk about the number one goal for the globalists is to reduce the world population drastically. They want, you know, over 7.5 billion people to perish. And they are willing to use any and all means to do so. And there is a state representative. His name is Shane Jett. He's from the state of Oklahoma. And he made the following statement in a recent interview, and he basically laid it out on the table. And people need to you know, sit up and listen to what he and many others are trying to tell you. Here we are.
Since you've been on the intelligence side, based on what you've seen the last 5.5 years, five and a half years roughly, a little bit longer, would you say we've gone through an active operation against the American people, in your opinion?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. We have been subjected to asymmetrical warfare through, instead of military uniforms, it's been lab coats. Instead of bullets and grenades, it's been toxins and viruses. And there is no doubt in my mind that this was an orchestrated, coordinated attack facilitated from within through the pharmaceutical industrial complex and their shills in federal government to allow the protocols that raise the death count, to force compliance to take vaccines. I think was clearly, we've documented this was put into place well before it was launched. And the disruption of the launch of the asymmetrical biological warfare that we were submitted to was intended to be done under the Hillary Clinton administration, and the Trump administration, I think, disrupted their anticipation. So 2020 opened a lot of eyes, and the deep state and the pharmaceutical industrial complex funding, the World Economic Forum and the United Nations all colluded to bring the United States economy and the world economy to heel, to break the system and build back better so that we can be more Marxist and have a lighter population footprint, because they believe that the only thing wrong with this planet is there's too many people on it.
Mm-hmm. Now let's just think outside of the cage for a little bit. All right. If there is indeed a grand scheme, a plot, a conspiracy, if there is a plot to reduce the world population and to destroy this country, who would be behind it? Who? Or what organization or what entity or what have you? Well, we know that we've got our elected officials who are supposed to be representing their constituency, i.e. the people, but we also realize that that's probably a fantasy, because they go wherever the money is. And you need to look no further than AIPAC, yes, AIPAC, and the influence that Israel has on our elected officials. Oh, but wait, there's more. It's not just that influence on our elected officials. No. You need to look at the influence in all of the huge corporations and businesses. Yeah, the pharmaceutical companies, the media, Hollywood. Who is influencing them? Who do you suppose is pulling the strings behind the scenes? And if there is indeed a plot to poison our food and poison our air, and, put all these chemicals and all this garbage in our food, and indeed in our water, and indeed in the air, who would be behind it? What forces would be behind that? What influence? Who's pulling the strings? Well, you don't have to think too hard to figure that out. Again, we're talking about, in this country, 3% of the population being part of one particular ethnic group. And then you look at that ethnic group and look at the influence that that ethnic group has over big pharma, big oil, big agriculture, okay, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if indeed there is a plot to soften the target, that's us, and basically, kill our economy, kill our health, who's behind that? Could it possibly be our greatest ally? Let's, like I said, just connect the dots, folks. And these are dots that a lot of people don't want to connect. Oh, you can't blame that. Well, all you got to do is look. It's not hard. I don't know, folks. Some people just can't accept the idea about thinking outside of the cage. And this has been going on for a long, long, long time. And it's like right in our faces, and a lot of people just don't want to see it. And a lot of people now are really ticked off at Donald Trump, saying, wait a second, you've been supporting all of this. What was that when Netanyahu was over here a few weeks ago and Trump was holding the door for him? I mean, he was, wait a second. Who is Trump working for? A lot of people are saying, wait a minute, I didn't vote for this. And I got to tell you, Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, she has been extremely vocal about this. And a lot of people now are taking, they're saying that, there's voter hesitancy or voter remorse, I should say, for the people who voted for Trump. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that feel that way. But then again, you look at some of the stuff that he's doing and say, is he really going to drain the swamp? What's going on in Washington, D.C.? I don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore. Is that even the real Trump? People are starting to say, hey, look, is there a body double? I mean, we have very good reason to think that we had a stand-in for Joe Biden. And we see lots of videos of very prominent officials that appear to be wearing masks. So the question is that really Trump? I don't know. Anna Kasparian, like I said, she's very outspoken on this subject. Here she is on a rant.
Donald Trump is more than a disappointment. Donald Trump brings this country so much shame and embarrassment. And I would say the same thing if it was a Democratic president. As you guys should probably know at this point, I have no loyalty to either party. My loyalty is to what is right. And what Trump is going to allow to happen to those poor, innocent people in Gaza and the West Bank disgusts me. But hey, you know what? Miriam Adelson's check cleared, right? You damn whore. $100 million, who cares how many lives get lost, how many people get slaughtered, how many homes get absolutely destroyed by an evil government with an even more evil military. Absolutely disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So there's more. Netanyahu and his aides claim Hamas isn't interested in signing the ceasefire deal, right? We know that in reality, Israel has served as an obstacle to the ceasefire. Netanyahu has never wanted peace, and Netanyahu knows his power is over the second this war is done. And for Netanyahu, his own power, his own needs, that's way more important than anything else, including making Israel a pariah state. And for any Israelis watching this right now, I want you to be clear. I want you to understand this, okay? Because others are very afraid. I get the IDF sending me pictures of their weapons, talking about how they're gonna slaughter me. I'm not afraid of you. Not afraid of you, okay? All the other cowards in American media, they can F off. They're not like me, I'm different. I'm not afraid of you, okay? So while you're cashing checks that are funded by my tax dollars and the tax dollars of my fellow Americans, I need you to understand something clearly. You are hated internationally. Hated. Don't be mistaken based on the propaganda you hear in American media. That's not representative of how the American people feel about you. You're hated. And it's not because you're Jewish. It's because you slaughter innocent people. It's because you think you're God's chosen people when you act like absolute demons. That's the reality. The whole international community loathes you. Young American citizens in this country, both left and right, loathe you. And eventually, these are the people who are gonna come into power. So I think Israel's days are numbered as it pertains to America backing its disgusting, loathsome behavior.
I'm gonna pause this for a second because I think she's right. I think that, they back in the days of the Q posts, started in 2017 and everything like that, they've been saying, save Israel for last. Save Israel for last. And they also keep saying that the people have to be shown. You can tell them, you can show them documents, you can give them videos and photographs, but they won't believe it, they won't listen, they won't look, but they have to be shown. It has to be put in their faces. And I think this is the process that we're going through right now. People have to be shown. And now the world is seeing what's going on. And I think that the American people now are starting to say, wait a second, this whole thing, we are being betrayed by our elected officials. And yeah, there's this T word. It's called treason. Now, I'm watching what's going on in Washington right now. Of course, everybody's focusing on John Brennan and Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all the stuff that was going on in Washington. You know, the treason that's been going on. Is this the process that we have to go through? Is this the draining the swamp? You know, is this the exposure of Israel and Israel's influence in our elected officials and all sectors of our society? Is there a purging that's about to happen? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to let her continue on for a couple more rants here.
It's war crimes. It's slaughter of innocent people. You know, coming into this, beginning on October 7th, I had absolutely no hatred toward Israel. None. Not even a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to stop her right there. She just mentioned October 7th. Videos are now being released from helicopter pilots. Remember that concert where all these concert goers were being slaughtered? They were being slaughtered by the IDF. Yes, it was the Hannibal Directive. And all these people that keep saying October 7th, this whole thing that started off and it was Hamas and everything, that's the propaganda. It was the Hannibal Directive. And again, I direct you to the that documentary film, and it's entitled Israel Was Behind the Attacks of October 7th, 2023. And it was an inside job. It's on Rumble. You should go and watch that. Because they are interviewing IDF soldiers. And they basically come flat out and say it. Yeah, we did it. We did it. And of course, hey, that doesn't go along with the narrative, so you don't get to hear about that. I mean, the censorship is obscene in this country right now. And that's why I'm challenging people to think outside of the cage. Look for the truth, and it's never easy to find. And again, I've said that many times. If the truth is never easy to find, how easy is it to turn on your TV and channel surf the news networks? You're not going to find a whole lot of the truth on the news, and I don't care if it's liberal or conservative. You've got to look outside of those boundaries that they've set up for you. Anyway, that said, that's why, I challenge people all the time to think for yourselves. Use your God-given cognitive skills and, think outside of the cage. Put the puzzle pieces together because it's not hard. It's not hard. People say, well, it's so scary. Well, yeah, people have a natural fear of the unknown. But common sense tells me that if you take the unknown and turn it into a known, the fear will dissipate. And then you're prepared to do battle. And that's why I keep saying, folks, look, if we're going to defeat the monster, you've got to have the courage to stare him right in the eyes. And again, that's just plain old common sense. So get yourself educated, think outside of the cage, do your own research, and I think you'll probably come to the same conclusion that many Americans and people all around the world are coming to. And yeah, it's going to be up to us. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for today's Wednesday installment of the WTF Reports. And I'm very happy to have you as a listener out there. And if you're enjoying the program, if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube, please click like, share, and subscribe. And please visit our website, do some business with our sponsors. That's how we keep the lights on here. All right, that said, that's going to wrap it up. I don't know what's going to happen in D.C., but it's really interesting. Get your popcorn, folks. It's going to get real interesting real soon. That said, I will be back same time, same place tomorrow. God bless you all. Stay safe and stay free.